Welcome to World Affairs Today, brought to you by the World Affairs Council, Washington, D.C., a leading forum for global education and international affairs.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Fassler, and I'm the International Affairs Director for the World Affairs Council, Washington, D.C. On behalf of the Council, I welcome you to this Ambassador Series program. Many thanks to our strategic partners, the Ronald Reagan Building and International Trade Center, for their wonderful hospitality in providing us with this beautiful venue to host our public events. These are filmed for nationwide broadcast on our television show, World Affairs Today, which airs at 3 p.m. on Sunday afternoons on MHC Worldview and MHC Network's national channel. They will also be available globally on our YouTube channel after broadcast. Today's event will focus on Pakistan, its relations with the United States, and the roles it plays as a regional power. In May 2015, following Prime Minister Sharif's visit to Washington, the U.S. and Pakistan established a joint action plan to expand bilateral trade and investment over 5 years. The United States is Pakistan's largest bilateral trading partner, with almost $4 billion in goods being exported to the United States. In addition to the important economic relationship between the United States and Pakistan, there's a critical allied defense and anti-terrorism relationship. Pakistan has captured more than 600 members of Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and ISIS. In January 2015, the U.S. pledged $250 million to help Pakistan facilitate the relief, reconstruction, and return of federally administered tribal area communities displaced by counterterrorism operations. Pakistan has provided the U.S. with access to a number of military airports and bases, along with logistical support. We are honored this evening to host His Excellency Aizaz Ahmad Chaudhry for this Ambassador Series program. Ambassador Chaudhry presented his credentials to President Trump on April 24, 2017. He is a career diplomat with more than 36 years of experience. Ambassador Chaudhry served as the Foreign Secretary of Pakistan from 2013 to 2017. In the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Chaudhry has served as Additional Foreign Secretary for UN and Disarmament Affairs, the Director General for Relations with Southeast Asia countries. In this capacity, he worked to help further the Pakistan-India peace process. Ambassador Chaudhry has also served as the Ambassador of Pakistan to the Netherlands from 2009 to 2012. He has represented his country as Deputy Permanent Representative of Pakistan to the United Nations. A graduate of Punjab University in Lahore, Ambassador Chaudhry went on to receive his master's degree from Tufts University Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. We are also honored to welcome our discussant, Vice Chairman of the Board at the World Affairs Council, the Honorable Jim Moran. Jim Moran has significant experience in international affairs. During his 12 terms as a congressman, Moran served on the Foreign Affairs, Defense, and Appropriations Committees. In November 2016, he interviewed the Pakistan Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Her Excellency Dr. Malia Modi, as part of our 10-part Women Ambassador series. He is currently Senior Legislative Advisor at McDermott, Will, and Emery. Please join me in welcoming Ambassador Chaudhry and Congressman Moran.
Thank you. My first word must be that of gratitude to World Affairs Council. This is the second time I'm coming to this council, and I've also addressed the World Affairs Council in Los Angeles last week when I was in California. And I must also thank you all for sparing your evening and for this talk and for the interactive session that I'm looking forward to. And thank you also, Congressman Jim Moran, for being with us this evening. It's a great honor for me to spend a few minutes with you during the question and answer sessions and to conduct this talk. Let me start with expressing my deep a sense of pleasure that I have been chosen by the government of Pakistan to represent my country in the United States. This is sort of my 4th time here. I did my master's from Tufts and then came back to serve in this embassy for a year before I went out to New York, where I stayed for a good 6 years. And I'm very happy that I was coming to this place as ambassador, a place that has earned a deep esteem and respect in my heart for the values that this society, this nation represents, for the resilience that the people of the United States have, for the leadership that the people of the United States have shown for the last several decades, if not more. So I'm very, very pleased that I am here deepening ties with this country. For us, our relations with the United States are extremely important. And there's a lot that is happening in our part of the world. I'm sure you are following on the screens. But let me first tell you that when I came here and I went around, and I have spoken to a few think tanks, I've been to academia, I've been interacted with the media, I've met the people in the administration, and I've also interacted with legislators on the Hill and off the Hill. And my impressions are that the perceptions that have come to hold in the United States about Pakistan are clearly lagging behind the reality of today's Pakistan. The reality of today's Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, is changing at a rapid pace. Actually, it is changing by the month. And in the last couple of years, let me highlight 2 particular domains. In the security domain, things have changed in Pakistan for the better at an enormously rapid pace. There was a time that the people of Pakistan were wondering whose war is it that we are fighting. You all are aware, I don't have to go back in history, what had happened after the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. A whole jihad culture came up, and once the Soviets went out and the Americans went back, all these militant elements, they stayed on. And after the 9/11, when Tora Bora was bombed, most of them crossed the border onto the tribal areas of Pakistan, straddling between Pakistan and Afghanistan. So that was where the problem became ours. Even then, it would have been not exactly our war, but when Pakistan decided to join with the international community, it became our war because we became a legitimate target for all these militants. And since then, we were grappling with this. It was only 3 years to 4 years ago, in June of 2013, when the present government took over, that a serious attempt was made to build a national consensus, a nationwide consensus, that terrorism in any form, in any manifestation, and violence of any kind is not acceptable. And there was a series of political conferences that were arranged to build that consensus. And once we had that consensus, why it was important was because the narrative until then was quite weird, but it was prevailing. The narrative until then was that, look, Afghanistan is under occupation, and to resist occupiers, resistance is not only justified, but you should support us. They even called it as a holy duty, called jihad. But it was certainly a flawed interpretation of jihad, and it had to be exposed. When you kill innocent people on the streets and in the schools and the mosques, then that is no holy duty. So, but it had to come out of the political spectrum of the country. So that's what happened between June of 2013 and June 2014, when there was a full consensus. And the proof of that consensus having been achieved solidly was when the armed forces moved into the tribal areas in the June of 2014 to liberate that area from these militants who had infested themselves and enriched themselves in that area, we saw that there was not a single voice even from the far right of the political fringes opposing that military action. So there was a smooth sail. The whole North Waziristan, which was the hotbed of these militants, was cleared. Of course, it came at a cost. Huge human cost. 7,000 officers and soldiers laid down their lives, but they were convinced that their sacrifice is worth its while, because we had to resist and defeat these terrorists. So that's what happened. Now, this tribal area that straddles between Pakistan and Afghanistan, this tribal area, if you recall, this was an area that historically has been an area that didn't see any kind of governance. This was deliberately left in the 18th, 19th, and even part of the 20th century as a sort of buffer zone between the Russian Empire then and the British India then. So here you are. We have now every inch of that territory under the control of the state. That's no mean achievement, because in a way, history is being rewritten. 90 to 95% of the people who had been displaced by Taliban and the militants and the Al-Qaeda operatives have now come back. And all these militants are on the run. They have either been eliminated or they're on the run. And now these people are busy building their schools and roads. And some of the roads, I wish I could show you some slides. Maybe next time I would. Some of the roads, some of the infrastructure that has been built, matches any settled area. And a political package is now being introduced, has been introduced actually, which will give the people of this area the same kind of political governance that is available to the rest of the country. So that is a history rewritten. And we are very proud of that, because we are very happy with that. Then some of them went into the urban centers of Pakistan. Some went across the border towards Afghanistan. And those who went into the urban centers and hid themselves behind the civilian population, another operation has now been launched, which is called Raddul Fasad, which is to clear up these urban centers from these militants. And there too, because of that consensus that we had achieved, the nationwide consensus, the progress is remarkable. And the effect can be seen from the statistics that we used to have 150 average terrorist incidents per month, and now you don't have them on the fingers of a single hand. So we are quite comfortable with that. We are very happy with that. And that has now led to sort of even better conditions, better law and order, and a salutary effect on the economic situation of the country. There also, we can now clearly see that economy is growing. We had 4.7% growth rate. IMF and World Bank have upgraded it to about 5% now this year. Our fiscal deficits are down from 8% somewhere 3-4 years ago to around 4% now. Foreign exchange reserves have gone up. Our stock exchange is shooting. Only today, I saw that 100 index has crossed 52,000 points. So there are all the indications of vibrant economy, and you can see optimism in the air. That is attracting a lot of investors in Pakistan. Of course, Chinese are leading the charge. They are investing hugely, but so are the Turks and the Koreans and the Europeans. And what pleases me the most as ambassador of Pakistan here, the American companies. So many of the American companies, corporate America, is going in big way into Pakistan. I sat through with the leading business houses in the U.S.-Pakistan Business Council, and I was very excited to see the excitement actually there, which was quite palpable. So that I think is showing. Now, all this is very little known to the people here who believe and like to view perhaps United States, Pakistan from a narrow prism. But we also recognize that all these gains are or could be tentative. Could be tentative because of the situation in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is next door. So our gains could be at risk if Afghanistan does not stabilize. Unfortunately, the situation in Afghanistan is deteriorating. And what we have seen, that every time Afghanistan is unstable, the instability flows into Pakistan. And that's the reason why we are worried, and we need Afghanistan to be stable. We believe that a lot needs to be done there. We understand that the United States present administration is going through a review process. We have given our inputs. We believe that that Afghanistan needs to be stabilized for our interests, but also for the interest of the whole region. A few words about the new U.S. administration. We are engaged with the new U.S. administration. We believe that there is business to be done by Pakistan and the United States. We see a very clear agenda set out. We see that first and foremost, perhaps, would be to stabilize Afghanistan. And we can see that while we want to see Afghanistan stable for our own national interest, of course, for the people of Afghanistan too, they need a break. But for us also, we need that because we don't want to put at risk our own successes against terrorism and in the economic domain. So we want to see Afghanistan stabilize, and we believe the United States also wants to see Afghanistan stabilize. We believe that the United States for the last 15 to 16 years has invested hugely economically and also militarily, and would probably want to see a logical end to this process. So we see a commonality of interest between Pakistan and the United States to work together to stabilize Afghanistan. Another reason why we need to still continue working together is that in our neighborhood, the forces of terrorism are still not gone. And some of the Daesh elements are now taking roots in Afghanistan, which is also another source of worry. And we believe that there's work to be done. And thirdly, it's mainly in the economic domain that we see greater prospects for Pakistan and the United States to work in. As I indicated to you, apart from huge investment opportunities that are now unleashed by a number of mega projects in Pakistan. I'm glad that many of the US companies are going there. Like General Electric has just won, beating many companies, a project to generate 3,600 megawatt of electricity using gas. Likewise, ExxonMobil has entered into a consortium with Total of France and Mitsubishi of Japan, and also Qatar Petroleum to bring LNG to Pakistan and gasify it and pump it into our system. So that's like $700 to $800 million of investment. Procter & Gamble is doing good. The other day, another large company, Black & Veatch, was with me, and they are thinking of going to Pakistan. So there are a large number of companies there that are now can see the opportunities that are coming up in Pakistan, and it's not that I am making those claims. PricewaterhouseCoopers 3 months ago had come up with a report predicting that Pakistan would join the top 20 economies by 2030. And Goldman Sachs says that it could happen as early as 2025. Similarly, the credit ratings have gone from negative to stable to positive. Most of the forecasts are looking good, and we are quite excited about it. We hope that this would form a durable basis for Pakistan and the United States to continue to work together. I would like to actually pause here and spare more time for question and answers, because I know there are a number of areas I could touch, but I would leave it to the questions because that's where my learning will be more, and hopefully your gain would be more too. So thank you so much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Ambassador. Ambassador, that was a perfect presentation. That's just exactly what an ambassador is appointed to do, to represent their country in the most positive light, to know facts, to be serious, but also to be embracing of the host country. And we are absolutely delighted to have you appointed as ambassador. We liked Ambassador Gilani. We like his staff. So I was just talking with the DCM, who's a friend, and your political minister, and you're very well represented, frankly, in Washington, and will continue to be. The first contact between Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and President Trump seemed to go well. Let me just report on some of the conversation. President Trump told Prime Minister Sharif that you have a very good reputation, you are a terrific guy, you are doing amazing work, which is visible in every way. I am looking forward to seeing you soon. As I am talking to you, Prime Minister, I feel I am talking to a person I have known for a long time. Your country is amazing, with tremendous opportunities. Pakistanis are one of the most intelligent people on the planet. I am ready and willing to play any role that you want me to play to address and find solutions to the outstanding problems. It will be an honor, and I will personally do it. Feel free to call me anytime. On being invited to visit Pakistan by the Prime Minister, Mr. Trump said that he would love to come to a fantastic country, a fantastic place of fantastic people. Please convey to the Pakistani people that they are amazing and that all Pakistanis I have known are exceptional people, said Mr. Donald Trump, President Trump. So that seemed to be a fairly positive interaction to kick off the relationship. I don't know if he has said that to other presidents. Sometimes he does seem to exaggerate, but this was certainly a very positive introduction. But now we have to get beyond that, and there are clearly some issues. This is not the worst of times, but neither is it the best of times. The relationship between the United States and Pakistan has gone up and down and up and down and around, and I think we would like to start off this conversation, Mr. Ambassador, with some insight from you on what you consider to be your highest priorities in terms of stabilizing our relationship, making it closer, making it more predictive, but most importantly, productive, because Pakistan matters. So, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me state at the outset that for Pakistan, principles are important. And we respect the choice of the people of the United States, and whoever is elected, we deal with them with full respect and in all earnestness. That's how diplomatic norms require us to do, and we have established our initial contacts with this administration. We have received positive vibes. There is a willingness to work together, and we are ready to work together. The National Security Advisor, of course, you refer to this telephone call, but after that, National Security Advisor has visited Pakistan. Our finance minister who was here 2 weeks ago has also met him. I have personally also had a meeting with him. And we think that there are areas on which we can work together. You did mention that, that the relationship has seen ups and downs. That is true. But that is true for every relationship. But in our view, the ups have been for far longer period, for sustained periods. We've also seen that whenever these two countries worked together, we benefited both. And whenever we did not, we did not. And therefore, I think there is every reason for us to expect that the relationship will continue to yield benefits for both countries if we worked together. The view that Pakistan holds of the relationship is that it should be a broad-based relationship. It should not be a transactional relationship. We think that we go back in time. It's been 7 decades long relationship. And for much of those period, United States was looked upon as a global leader, which it is, but as a global leader that is friendly for Pakistan. And therefore, we believe that our friendship and our relationship with your country matters to us. It is still the largest or the most popular destination for Pakistani students. It is still home to over 50,000 Pakistani physicians who come and work in the United States. It is still the largest trading partner for Pakistan. It is still home to considerable IT interactions given the youth bulge in Pakistan. Of course, besides that, we have defense relations and economic relations and so on and so forth. So I think there is every reason. And above all, our biggest resource for both countries is the Pakistani-American diaspora, 1 million plus. They are the solid bridge between Pakistan and the United States. There are so many of them also here, who are high achievers, who have contributed to the development of this country and have cemented ties of their country, of their heritage, with the country of their own choice. And I'm very, very happy that that Pakistani-American community has really brought in laurels for our country. So there are solid reasons why I believe that the relationship should remain broad-based. I also believe that even if you take government of Pakistan on one side and government of the United States on another side, the cooperation between the two peoples will still continue in many, many facets, from education to health to commerce and trade. So there is every reason for the two governments to take lead in that and build that solid relationship which the people of the two countries do expect. So that's our expectation, and that's what we are trying to communicate to them. Of course, security is important. We are ready to work with the United States to remove all these misunderstandings that have crept in about Pakistan. And there are perfect answers we have, and we, once the questions come, I'll probably answer them. And the trade and economic field is something in which we expect that this relationship can really blossom.
Yes. You mentioned that in your presentation. That was a superb answer. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. There have been several reasons for disruptions, static in the relationship, if you will. One of them has been Pakistan's relationship with India, which has been fraught with some conflict over the years, of course. And then Pakistan's role vis-a-vis Afghanistan and the U.S. involvement in the Afghan war with the Taliban. So let me talk about India first, if you wouldn't mind. Give us your perspective in terms of the relationship between Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and President Modi, and the relationship generally between India and Pakistan. Is there a way that Kashmir can kind of be put aside for a bit and economic and diplomatic ties might be strengthened? Because I think that would contribute in a positive way to improving the relationship with the United States. Tell us a little about Pakistan's relationship with India, if you wouldn't mind.
Certainly. India is a very important neighbor of Pakistan. We would like to see a good neighborly, friendly, cooperative relationship with that neighbor. The present government is particularly keen to establish what it calls peaceful neighborhood. it needs peace because it wants to create that space that it requires to fulfill its economic agenda. For that, peace with India is of utmost importance. So much so that the ruling party has put it in its own manifesto on the basis of which it fought and contested 2013 elections, that it would like to have good relations with India. So such is the importance. And when Prime Minister Modi was inaugurated, the Prime Minister of Pakistan was invited and he accepted the invitation and he was there. And ever since, they have had some contacts here and there. But unfortunately, the dialogue between Pakistan and India has not continued for quite some time. It has been on again and off again mode, suspended every time by India. Indians believe that there are certain conditions that must be met before they can sit on table for talking. Foremost of which is terrorism. And we tell them that we believe that if anybody has suffered a lot, it's Pakistan, apart from Afghanistan, which has suffered from this terrorism. And we are now reversing that tide of terrorism against us. We have turned the corner. We have defeated the terrorists and put them on the run. That includes all kinds of terrorists. And this is happening at a time when our region and the near region, near neighbors, are still grappling with the forces of terrorism. And whenever India and Pakistan tried to come together, there was one incident or the other that was staged, and India would suspend the dialogue. Now, my argument to them was, and in my previous capacity also I was used to, that look, the terrorists stage that incident, they sit back, but whenever we are trying to talk to each other, they come back in to stage something so that we don't talk to each other. And when you actually suspend the dialogue, you serve the objective for which they did that, and they sit back and relax. So it is extremely important that we continue talking. We isolate these militants and terrorists who are trying to spoil that relationship, and we move on. Because terrorists are our common enemies. Terrorism is our common enemy. And that's the spirit that is required. But unfortunately, the Indian side has its own calculus. They think that they can prevail by a more aggressive policy. They are now showing that more and more in Kashmir, in the Indian-occupied Kashmir, where we can see that repression of every kind is on full display. Thousands of people have been killed and injured and blinded, with people shooting above the waist on the eyes. And many and what India tries to do is to put it on Pakistan, saying that this is all being done by Pakistan-sponsored or Pakistan-based terrorists. That's the argument that they'd like to make. And whereas we tell them that we have absolutely no interest in allowing any terrorist to remain on our soil. Yes, we will continue to support the Kashmir cause. We believe it is a genuine cause. We believe Kashmiris have a right to self-determine their destiny. We will continue to extend political, moral, and diplomatic support to the Kashmiris. We are related to them. All the rivers flow this way. All the roads used to come this way. All the cities used to serve as the markets for Kashmiris products. So it's a natural bond nurtured by centuries which cannot be mitigated just like that. So we will continue to support morally, diplomatically, and politically. But we don't support violence. Sure. And whoever is committing violence, it's an indigenous reaction because of huge force that is being unleashed on the poor people. There is a reaction. And it is sometimes sad for us to see international community silent on that. Whereas from within Indian polity, we have seen a number of people from all walks of life leading different delegations to Kashmir and bringing home what's happening actually there. But we stand ready, sir, for dialogue with India whenever India is ready. They will not find us wanting, because we believe howsoever intractable the issues may be, the only solution that you can achieve is on the table. So Pakistan remains committed to that because we need that peace for our own interests and for the interests of the whole region.
Thank you, Ambassador. I've always felt that there should be a plebiscite in Kashmir, actually. But has Prime Minister Modi ever sat down with Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif? Have they ever actually met together? Do you recall?
Yes, they have.
I think they did initially.
Initially, during the inauguration in New Delhi, there was a meeting. And then they briefly met in Paris, 30th November, when the climate change agreement was being signed. It is 2015. And then last year, on 25th of December, Prime Minister Modi stopped over in Lahore, and there was a brief meeting with Prime Minister Sharif there.
Well, we would hope that that could move forward, and getting your insight is very valuable. Thank you, Ambassador. With regard to Afghanistan, a decision has been made by the military to beef up U.S. involvement somewhat. It'll probably get to perhaps close to 20,000 troops, all told, of U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Nowhere near what used to be there, but it clearly is an increase in what we've had for the last few years of about 8,000. How does Pakistan feel about beefing up that U.S. role? The Taliban, we're told, is gaining strength within Afghanistan. Now, the Afghans tell us that many of them are hiding in Waziristan and places in the Fatah, but maybe you could tell us what is Pakistan's position in terms of the U.S. role in Afghanistan, particularly the beefing up of its military role to comport with the increasing strength of the Taliban?
Thank you. Certainly. We do recognize that the United States' new administration is in the process of carrying out a review that includes, inter alia, a beefing up of their troops. We are still waiting for further details. There have been some elements published citing sources in various papers, but we will still wait till the review is out. We have given our perspective. We believe that, that for us, peace in Afghanistan is a high priority. For our own reasons. Of course, for the people of Afghanistan who are linked to Pakistan culturally and ethnically and by faith. But for our own interests, we want Afghanistan to be peaceful. And there is a full consensus within Pakistan to do that. But we also believe that there is no military solution to Afghanistan. If there was one, when these troops were 144,000, given such a long time, it would have come by. And we think, therefore, that a political solution would be required. A political strategy is required, of which use of military force or kinetics or persuasion or pressures could be part of that. But political objective has to be an Afghanistan which is reconciled, which is at peace with itself, where various factions are able to live in a spirit of tolerance and harmony and giving due space to each other. How do we achieve that? Pakistan believes that, of course, first and foremost requirement is to strengthen the Afghan national security forces. There is no doubt. So if the United States is going to increase the force, we understand it is to bolster the capacity of the Afghan national security forces to better govern Afghanistan. I think that's the objective, which is well-meaning. But beyond that, we also see that there is a tendency to put the blame for failures in Afghanistan or Pakistan. The argument is made that we could not stabilize Afghanistan because Pakistan was giving space to Taliban and the Haqqanis who were launching attacks. Well, I'll come to that. I believe that while this may scapegoat Pakistan and give some explanation for the failures, but this is an oversimplification. In fact, you will be barking the wrong tree. The Afghanistan of today has a myriad of problems, from governance to corruption to drug trade to the capacity issue of the forces to economic stress. And it cannot just be explained by saying that Pakistan, there's a bad guy called Pakistan, which is responsible for that. I think if we keep doing that, then we might scapegoat Pakistan, fine, but you will not be able to resolve Afghanistan. For Afghanistan, a comprehensive approach is required. As far as our role is concerned, we have made it very clear that Taliban are no friend of Pakistan or the Haqqanis. They are not our proxies. Our message to them is getting starker and sterner, that shun violence and join the political peace process. We would not, and our message is that if you are living in Pakistan peacefully, like 3 million Afghan refugees are living, fine. But if you plan any violence on the soil of Pakistan for committing it in Afghanistan, it's not acceptable. And we are squeezing space. Most of them are runaway. They're into Afghanistan. That has given a fillip to the insurgency, but we were constantly saying that while we are doing that, all these people, there should be a better coordination for a hammer and anvil kind of situation so that those who are running from here are tackled there. So our approach is no military solution. 2, a political strategy is required. 3, a genuine effort for reconciliation be made between the Taliban and the Afghan government, a genuine effort. Unambiguous messages from the Afghan government to convince Taliban that they will be better off on the table than in the battlefield. And 3, we also believe that we need some kind of border management between Pakistan and Afghanistan. This was an open border where, I think most of you would know, as many as 80,000 people would cross the border every day without a shred of document. We are now embarked on a 10 to 15 years long project to manage that border better. It doesn't mean stopping the bona fide travelers. People should only come with passports and visas. And Afghanistan complains that there are bad guys going from Pakistan and committing violence in Afghanistan and coming back. And Pakistan complains that there are bad guys like TTP, which has staged some of the spectacular terrorist attacks in Pakistan, including the December 2014 attack on school children, killing them mercilessly, 137 of them, and going back into Afghanistan. So what's the solution? The solution is that we better manage the border so that we interdict cross-border movement of these terrorists. We also believe that the Afghan refugees should also go back, but in honor and in dignity. We will not push them. It has to be gradual, but a solution must, 37 years, 3 million refugees, long time. Huge economic burden, but we braved it very well. We were hospitable. We still want to remain hospitable, but we think a solution ought to be found of that. And above all, a better relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan governments. We believe that we need better coordination. And that's why we took an initiative. We met them in London, and now the army leadership, our parliamentary leadership have gone to Afghanistan. Some kind of dialogue has started. We need that. We need that because we believe that we are up against a common enemy. Blame game will not help anybody. So that comprehensive approach, the elements of which I have just spelled out, is what is required. Of course, we'll respect what the United States has in store. They are preparing a review, and we'll like to work with them. But this is what we want, and this is what we propose. We think that this approach is better than a pure military approach.
So you strongly recommend that President Ashraf Ghani bring in the Taliban to some extent, at least for peace talks, if not some role in the government, perhaps some greater sovereignty in Pashtun area of Afghanistan, perhaps. I'd love to ask you about how you feel about Hekmatyar being part of the government and so on, but I'm not going to go there because I want to leave some opportunity for questions from the audience. So I'll only ask one other topic. Okay. And that's China. So in the New York Times Sunday paper on the front page, it talked about this this belt and spokes, the roads that China is building all over Asia. It's creating almost a hegemonic presence in Asia. The Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal was supposed to address that, but of course that's been rejected now. I think that's unfortunate, but China is planning on investing trillions of dollars actually in developing the economy of all of its Asian and even some Middle Eastern neighbors. We noticed it's planning to invest about $100 billion in India. But let me ask specifically about Pakistan. $46 billion, we understand. Much of it for the electrification system, $1 billion to make deeper and more accessible the port at Gadwar, and I guess I understand it's a deep, warm water port that would serve China's interests, but also Pakistan's interests. So China is investing a lot of money in Pakistan and the surrounding area. Maybe you could give us your view on China's role within the broader Asian community.
Certainly. How did it start? I'm referring to the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor that you mentioned. In 2013, when President Xi took over in China, while Prime Minister Sharif came to power by elections held in May 2013, and the direction that the then, which is the present Chinese government, but at that time took was that they had been having an export-led growth for decades, actually. Bulk of the development was concentrated in Eastern China, and Western China was neglected. So the government of President Xi announced that they would be now focusing on developing Western China. And they would also be focusing on mobilizing domestic consumers markets. But the Western China was 5,000 kilometers from Eastern China to avail of the ports, which would then go around the Indian Ocean, first the South China Sea, they go down through the New Zealand and Indonesia, and then come to India for about 8,000 kilometers. And here you are, if you go down from Kashgar straight down, you get into the warm waters with only 2,000 kilometers. It made perfect sense for them. For this government, which was also had come up with a high priority to economic agenda, they saw an opportunity in that. So an agreement was made between the two governments. And you mentioned $46 billion. The figure has gone way up now. But the initial $46 billion that was mentioned, $34 billion out of that is for the private sector projects with state-owned enterprises from China entering into joint ventures with Pakistani companies and producing, as you rightly mentioned, 80% of that is focused on producing electricity because we were running severe energy shortages. And the public liability was only to develop Gwadar Port and complete one part of the motorway between the southern city of Karachi and the northern industrial hub of Lahore. And they just wanted to complete that. And some improvement in infrastructure here and there. The rest was all in private sector. Even now, bulk of the initial investments, further investments that are coming are directly with the provincial governments who are mobilizing their private sector. While all that was happening, and there was also huge investments coming in from Turkey and other countries, the government of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is of the view that while we have good relations with China, we need equally strong relations with the United States. So that was the mandate given to me when I was chosen to be sent here, in very clear words, that our relations with China and our relations with the United States are not a zero-sum game. We go back in time with both countries, and we want the United States to stay engaged with Pakistan in a broad-based, mutually beneficial relationship, based on, of course, mutual respect of each other's values and priorities, and with a desire to work together.
Very good, Ambassador Will. Thank you for your strength and articulation and command of the issues. I think at this point, it's time to open up the floor to people in the audience to see what questions you might have.
I wanted to ask you about how foreign investment works in Pakistan. Specifically, is the Chinese model like what they did in Ethiopia, where they only use Chinese employees, or are Pakistani workers involved in the huge investment that China's made in infrastructure? And if you could compare that perhaps with Turkish investment and American investment in terms of using Pakistani workers rather than foreign workers.
Well, it is only natural when the companies would come and bring capital, they would also bring in their own technical experts and whatever else. But my sense is that what perhaps Pakistan would want is that out of those joint ventures with the Chinese companies have with Pakistani, the Pakistani labor would be used. As indeed, there would be Chinese capital, Pakistan's labor, and perhaps technology from somewhere, like GE is providing turbines for many of those projects, and locomotives. So I think there is a reason to expect that it should be more broad-based, and Pakistani manpower should also be incorporated. My other view is that these are private sector projects, but the economic zones that we are envisaging would actually be open to investments from all across. And there should be a good, happy mix of investments in Pakistan. Along with that, the human resource requirements of those projects.
My name is Surya Jandiala. I'm from India. First, I would like to confess that the Pakistani diplomats are a lot more classier than our Indian diplomats. Yeah, my question is, why is Pakistan continuously provoking the Indian military and the government, keeping in mind India has a popular Hindu majority government and a military that has become ruthless the last couple of decades?
Well, thank you for the compliment, but I think in the field of diplomacy, I think South Asia has lot to do more. It's a question of producing results. both Pakistani diplomats and Indian diplomats have a responsibility to contribute to bringing peace in our region. That's what we expect we all to do. Pakistan would like good relations with India. We recognize that there is a government there. It has its own calculus, its own agenda. But we believe that the interests, long-term interests of India are also in having a peaceful region. We do not think that India gains by keeping the region on the boil. We believe that being a bigger country, India also has a responsibility to play a role, a leadership role in bringing peace in our region. Pakistan, being a relatively smaller country, but not a small country, but relatively small relative to India, has a genuine interest that we want to establish peace with India. We will benefit a lot if that relationship is peaceful. But Pakistan also does not accept hegemony, because we have seen that hegemonic relationships don't last long. We want a relationship with India based on mutuality of respect and mutuality of benefit. And we hope that that day would come soon when we both can achieve that objective.
Definitely, Ambassador, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us for World Affairs Today, a production of the World Affairs Council, Washington, D.C. Stay connected with us at www.worldaffairstoday.org.